Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome to Record Breakers, a music podcast where a group of friends gather together to share music with each other, an album at a time. It's like a little book club for music. Fun time had by all. I'm Petey Rave, and here with me is my team, my crew, my squad, my gang. We've got David.
Petey Raven Delacroix. I'm just wondering out loud, is Sleep Token really that bad?
I don't have any problem with them.
I don't think they're that terrible.
Yeah, and we have Drew and Dog.
And dog. Hello.
Yeah.
Well,
We're here to talk about music. We're here to talk about an album, and I am the provider of the album this week. It's my turn, and we're going to be talking about the latest album, the canonically fourth album from Kawaii-Metal, Juggernauts, Babymetal. It's known as Metal Fourth, and on. It's gonna be an interesting album to talk about. But let's get your expectations. David, what were your thing? What was your expectation coming into this album?
I am eternally in conflict with my feelings on Baby Metal because every time I listen to an entire Baby Metal album, I come away thinking that they can be so much better than what they are because amongst all of the presentation and branding and taking selfies with various people in the metal world, there are some flashes of some really good music in there, but it just feels like time and again they kind of take the path of least resistance, and I'm hoping that this album is, spoilers, not a sign of Baby Metal going forward.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
well, I expected a Babymetal record. It was super polished, metal with a lot of clean, cutesy vocals, to juxtapose some very overdriven, grungy metal, metalcore, whatever you want to call that. And I saw the list of guest spots, as I'm sure we will get into, and was intrigued. I believe when we left off last time, I looked at track 4 and laughed about the name of the band, Bloodywood.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I expected.
Yeah.
So I was excited to hear my first bits of them, as well as the rest of this record with the weird guests.
Yeah. Musically, this album is a mix. I think that it is very much dominated by the collaborations. There are all but all but 3 songs feature a collaboration, and like a couple of those, only a couple of those collaborations. I would say one of them would be a collaboration that doesn't kind of like have a strong presence. But yeah, it's a lot of collaborations. It's a lot of like featuring stars, featuring bands, and it definitely influences the hodgepodge of the album. The term kawaii metal for them. I would say like baby metal, and this album became, instead of from baby metal to baby metalcore, because this is definitely a full like swerve into like a metalcore influences just by the names of the groups that are featured, which we'll talk about when we talk about tracks. The production is of course on top notch. The singing is really fun, and you know, Su Metal's vocals have been developing and like flourishing especially lately. And she's strong in this one. The fun kind of like call response moments are still there here and there. We even get a little bit of screaming from Momo Metal, which we'll talk about on that song later on. Um, and it's a mix of things here and there. It's a little bit of like what we know as baby metal, but a lot of like the collaborators definitely putting their signature all over the record. Um, yeah, it is baby metal, just kind of like in the bottom, and then lots of layers of other people bringing in and bringing in their ideas. Um, but yeah, let's go to you guys. How you process this album musically, David? How would you describe this album musically?
I would describe this album musically as something where baby metal shows themselves as not so much a creative project, but more of a business endeavor, more of a corporate endeavor with branding on this album. And I think a lot of this album, given that it is very collab heavy, it does not sound like baby metal albums of the past. Depending on your feelings about those albums, that could either be good or bad. But there is not a lot of the baby metal that came before. There's some, but not a ton. And there are collaborations where you can very clearly tell that the band or the artist was doing the lion's share of the work on writing the song. And I feel like if you like these other artists, maybe this is your gateway to baby metal. I think that if you like baby metal, will this be a gateway to other artists? I'm not sure I can really say.
Hmm. Drew, well, how would you describe this album musically?
Well, I think you guys are dead on the money. Um, while there are parts of this that very much feel like a baby metal record, like I said, the metal mixed with sort of the clean, cutesy vocals at times and things like that obviously come through. But stylistically, especially if you end up listening to a lot of metal, hardcore, metalcore genres, you get a lot of variation. You get a lot of difference within that. And I think it's cool to hear how it's mixed in here. But like Deej said, is it going to bring baby metal fans over to say a Slaughter to Prevail or an Electric Callboy? I don't know. Um, is it gonna bring those fans in? Maybe, possibly. I think there was a lot of cool stuff in here as far as like, oh, that's an interesting take on that thing. Or like, oh, that's a weird way to use a guitar player that everybody knows. Spoiler alert. But it was a weird hodgepodge. And I enjoyed my time with it. But yeah, like a lot of baby metal, I find myself going, well, that was fun, but was it as in depth as I maybe want? Maybe not.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
it's a fun record.
yeah. Yeah, I think once we get into some of the tracks, well, there's a lot of tracks to zero in on, and I'm gonna say what I think are the strongest tracks. After I give a couple shout outs to like all the collaborations, because I wanted to give a shout out to naming the collaborators really kind of tells you where this hodgepodge comes from. Because you got, Poppy on the opening track, which I imagine Deej will have some things to say about. Uh, we have the Ratatata, uh, with Electric Callboy, not Rat-a-Tat. That's a different group. We have song number 3 with Slaughter to Prevail, which is the third song, but it's also called song number 3. That one I want to shout out for. Well, the Rat-a-tat-ta is a pretty catchy hook. The song 3, I love that it Momo Metal gets to showcase her screaming all of a sudden, which I never thought that would be the thing that she would bring to the group. But
And
apparently,
honestly, that's gonna go into what I talk about later. The fact that Momo Metal has that in her arsenal is actually pretty awesome.
yeah, and we've seen her, and then people doubt her, and she keeps showing up to live shows and live performing and doing it live every time and shutting haters up. Um, I also like how Kon mixes the Bollywood Bloody Woods like signature sound really well, um, and it's fun. Um, and I think Kawaii is kind of like the weakest track, even though that has some things. But really, uh, what will tie into what we're talking about kind of is highlighted by like what the better songs are and why, um, which is basically almost everything after this, after the 5th track. Sunset Kiss with Polyphia, which is more of a prog project, more of a prog metal project, and they're more of an instrumental. Allows Babymetal as performers to shine by themselves, and just a lot of them to provide the base, the foundation for Babymetal as vocalists and performers to shine on top of that, and is a really nice, solid song. Um, My Queen, I think, has more of a good balance of what a powerful metal sound with what Babymetal do and their better sound, and kind of fits better and melds better as a song than a lot of the other ones. Algorithm, um, the I think uh the it's a more, we get that taste again finally 8 songs into the album of the Babymetal we know, and it shines because of that. Metal is a really fun song, and Tom Morello's guitar solo is really cool. And then White Flame closes it out, and it's the strongest, I think, the strongest song on the album. And it's just it was made by Koba-Metal. I think that is the biggest shine. The best song, if you look at the credit, that's the one song that Koba-Metal, or Kitsune Metal God, it was the primary writer of. The rest of them were the
Which
collaborators
song
and
was
the
that?
White Flame, the closing track.
Ah, yeah. Cosign.
Yes. And also Sue Metal contributed to the writing as well. But it was the Koba-Metal track, and that highlights where like the core Babymetal creative force is the strongest one, and all these collaborators are good, but they kind of drive it away somewhere else. And I think the strongest ones were when the strongest songs were the ones where it was more of that powerful, dramatic metal, power metal. It goes back to, I think, probably the first album, the Babymetal album we talked about, where, if I remember correctly, my big point was that the album was stronger the more Japanese the metal was. And like my point would be like, it's more of like what we know of like Japanese metal, more power metal, more epic, more of that. Where when it was going more Western metal, it was weaker. Not bad, but just kind of was driving away,
Not as strong.
not as strong. I think when it's like that spectrum, it is stronger on that side where it's more of what they know, which is a power epic, you know, melodic, heavy metal stuff. And I think that's what is the crux of this record. But I'll get that when we conclude, when we go back around. But yeah, David, what would be the key tracks for you?
Um, the aforementioned White Flame. and I'm going to talk about that one a little bit later. Let's see. Let me pull up a few. Um, Song 3, in my opinion, is a pass. From Me to You had my girl Poppy, and she sounds better than ever. In my opinion, she is one of the examples of actually lifting the song that she's on. And I would not be opposed to more collaborations between Baby Metal and Poppy, but that's completely me being biased because I love Poppy.
Mhm.
Um, I know anyone listening to this podcast is probably going to expect me to rave about Sunset Kiss. Um, you'd be wrong. It's a good song. I don't think it's the best song. Polyphia, to their credit, are such a good band and so creative and so talented that they can pretty much make anything work. And this song is it feels like it feels like a Polyphia EP song that just happened to have baby metal on it. And I think that's where a lot of this album kind of fell flat for me. Until we got to metal exclamation point, I thought Tom Morello really made a really strong song for them because Tom Morello's brilliant. Tracks 6 through 9, the latter half of the album, really kind of jump in quality. We already talked about Algorithm and White Flame, and I'm going to talk about how I feel about those two tracks a little bit later. But what else? Con. It has that overproduced modern metal buzzy sound that people who don't like metal think is metal, but it was probably the best song. And I think Bloody Wood did their job really well. I think Bloody Wood was the best non-exclusively baby metal song, with Metal featuring Tom Morello right behind it.
Mhm. Um, Drew, what would be your key tracks, or what would you talk about track by track?
Well, track by track, the first two I want to touch on almost together because um, I think they're really great and sort of start off the record, both of them showing you exactly what's to come, um, by the fact that From Me to You, very heavily obviously influenced by like what Poppy's doing and where Poppy's at. There is some sounds in there that are Doom, like 2016 Doom, uh, Mick Gordon in like the coolest ways, which I'm super down with. And I also put, because I didn't know where I was going to be in the lineup, I'm pretty sure I can speak, or I don't want to speak for all of the podcasts, but I would assume we're a pretty pro Poppy podcast around here.
Yeah,
So good to see that
absolutely.
that's the case.
Yeah,
Um, she
absolutely.
is fully in her bag on this one. And then Electric Callboy, like bringing in like Ratata to me sounds like I really wish Dance Dance Revolution was still like a cultural force because I feel like this would be a really good like 5-6 step like higher difficulty but not like ridiculous difficulty song that I would love. Um Con uh I want to go see what Bloodywood's kind of about because having like old folk instrumentals in metal and like using old like traditional instruments I think is really cool. And then I don't know if there's an I at the end of it, but metal Metali whatever with Tom Morello, using Tom Morello uh guitar parts and like just letting him flex a little bit of muscle on this I think is cool. And eh, say what you want about him. There's been like weird stories sometimes coming out about him being a little too cool for school in some situations. But the dude can play goddamn guitar and he's been about that life for a while. So I'm willing to give him a pass on like trying to be a little big for his britches in some rooms because Jesus Christ. But
I don't
yeah,
know about y'all, but as far as I'm concerned, Tom Morello can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you.
he's fantastic. And then White Flame closes out, like you guys said, really, really strong. And Deej alluded to it. If that's where they're going, I think it's a good sign. But that's me.
Yeah, let's bring it back around the horn, talk about some conclusive thoughts. David, how would you conclude on this album as a whole?
I just want to say, Petey, if you don't close the comments on this one and we're rated, I just want to say I'm coming from the perspective of someone who likes Babymetal. Everything I've heard from them, to varying degrees, I like. I have a pretty positive opinion on Babymetal overall. I'm going to use a wrestling comparison, guys. People always say the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, is a comedy wrestler in the body of an all-time great main event star. And Babymetal is a power metal band that is in the body of a metal as aesthetic project. And what I'm saying here is I listened to a lot of this album and I want to say they can do better than this. They are better than this. Babymetal is better than what this album has. The sum of the parts of this whole album, the thing that I come up to is that they can simply do better than this. Because I believe that underneath all of the branding and production and everything else, there is a pretty good modern metal band with influences of power metal and metalcore bubbling just under the surface with Babymetal. But I can almost hear record label executives coming into the studio and trying to pull them in a different direction. And for the TV tropes fans out there, look up the trope executive meddling. And that is what I am hearing when I hear this album. It works in some ways, and then in others, not so much. But as we've all talked about, the best song on the album, pretty much running away, was White Flame. And I personally really liked Algorithm as well. And if Babymetal had more songs like that, if they just committed to themselves, I would be a much bigger fan of them than I am. But this felt very cynical. It felt very corporate cash grabby. It felt like an attempt to bridge the gap between Babymetal and the rest of the metal world. And I'm not entirely sure it's going to work because I believe that if Babymetal just chose to be the authentic band that is just under the surface that you hear on songs here and there entire album throughout their entire catalog, they have some songs that are really, really good. And I want Babymetal to show more confidence in their original material because a lot of their original material is really, really good. And as far as Metal Fourth goes, my take is you can do better than this, Babymetal. You can do better than this.
Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album?
I think it's a fun record. Like a lot of Babymetal's records are. I don't know if it's gonna keep me super interested. I'm always new Babymetal comes around. I'm always at least gonna be interested. At least gonna want to see what the hell they're doing these days. But David made a good point, and now I can't stop thinking about like, what if Metal Fist comes out, and instead of like Spirit Box and Slaughter to Prevail, it's Camelot and Curry Sauce and fucking Hammerfall, and like that's the other bands. Like bring in the
Look,
power metal.
if Babymetal works with Blind Guardian, I will be all in. I will be all in.
Yes. Oh, you got muted, Drew.
Oh, did I? Okay, am I back? Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, bring in like do this, but with that power metal spin. That's actually a really now I'm super interested in the alternate universe where that's a thing.
Yeah.
But no, it's a decent record. It's well put together. It's well thought out. It's just like yeah, it's hard to say. Like, would I recommend it to somebody who doesn't know Babymetal? Probably not. Is it a fun record to listen to while you have it on? Yeah. Am I clamoring to go back to it tomorrow? Probably not. Like, it's a hard one. Like, I think it's a out of 10. I think it's a solid like 6.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the conclusion is like I went in this hoping for, for a fun Babymetal record, and I got a fun Babymetal record, but the problem is that I didn't get as much of a Babymetal record as I wanted. Like has been talked about, this is very much built around these collaborations, which I think weaken the presence of Babymetal. I want Babymetal. When I listen to a Babymetal record, I want to listen to Babymetal. Um, and I'm not against collabs and fun songs, but when it kind of overwhelms the core sound and overwhelms the core creative force, it it weakens it a lot, and um and that's a shame because I don't dislike any of the collaborators in this. I think they're all cool. They're all have some really cool sounds and really cool, and it's cool that like they're all friends of the in the world, and they're all they seem to be cool people that get to like collaborate with them and hang out and just in general. But a lot of
It's
these,
always there it is. It's the but ... It's that pause
yeah,
right there.
it's and I think going for this particular song because they went with the metalcore because that's what's on the up. That's why, and like you said, the record label might have had an influence on that, especially working with some the groups that are on the up like Spirit Box or Poppy, who's on that up and the sign and the current landscape and all basically like
You'd
metalcore
almost expect Turnstile to be on this.
yeah, like it would if they basically if they had met them at some point randomly during a festival, that probably would have happened. It's whoever they networked at like at all these festivals, that's who ended up on this record, and that's fine. I think these are fantastic records, but it is to the detriment of the core sound of this album, which I think is mostly it is like we said, very highlighted by the two like best song like two of the best songs are have no collaborators and are created by the core people. Obviously I think the other
The
one is
commie band.
yeah,
If
the
you
actual
will.
commie band, and in particular the best song is one by Kawaii-Metal, the creative core of this band from the very beginning. Kawaii-Metal himself, who's a big part of this, and what he created was
Petey,
the strongest track.
would you say that collectively our message is directly to Babymetal
Yeah.
to just say, be yourself. Just
Yeah,
do what you want to do.
yeah.
Do your stuff.
So I would say my biggest conclusion for this album is that I almost don't want to say that you don't make this record. Um, what I want to say is if we're going to have a thing where we say, and one of the things we said I think earlier, especially last week, how this is canonically the fourth album, and the reason for that is that their previous album, the one I think it's the other one, yes. The other
The
one
other
was
one,
a
yes.
special project. It was like a special concept project that was just for the fans. Like they said, like that's not part of the canonical like lineage. It's just like a special other like thing, side project, side uh concept. If we're gonna have the idea that's like the like the core canonical albums, and then you have other side projects, you could have taken all these collaborations, added a couple more, like taken the added like three or four more collaborations, and have that be an album. Have it Babymetal and Friends or Babymetal Universe, Kawaii-Metal Universe, and then the core, Metal Fourth could have been just a core Babymetal record, and just make the best Babymetal record you could. If you give these two ideas that they wanted to have these collaborations because they wanted to work with these artists creatively, and they wanted to, like exchange ideas and see what they can make together. That's fine. That's great. But they also want to make their own music, and they want to have their own identity. Ideally, you could have that. Just like you can try not to middle them together. Muddle. That's the word. I found the right vowel. Muddle. Them together when they could be their own separate things. How to do special project, since a lot of the work was being done by the collaborators anyways. Have that be the special side project, and then Metal Fourth could have been just a Babymetal record. No collaborators, no nothing. Not even the power metal ones. Just a Babymetal record, and make it the best one, and have it just be your team. I think that would have been a lot better. And it's one of the things I just thought about. It's like, would have been a lot better. As it stands, this is a fun record. It's not bad. It was a fun project. But the idea that this is the next main, Babymetal record, it's disappointing in that, looking at it through that lens. But yeah, like I said, so that's where we stand on that. That's where we're left with there. But yeah, let's bring it back to the main event of the evening, the moment we've all been waiting for, our haiku reviews, where we sum it all up in poetic forms with the 575. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Haiku numero uno. David, what is your haiku?
Once again, before my haiku, I'm only asking Babymetal to just be Babymetal.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Expected better. Running from identity. Good, not good enough.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
You know what you get. I'm always here for it. Decent guest choices.
Mm-hmm. My haiku is, with collabs galore, fun songs, but I wish it felt more Babymetal. Mm-hmm. And those are our thoughts on Babymetal's Metal Fourth. Let's Metal Fourth on to our next week's record, or you can, which of course you can find along this record on our YouTube playlists. You can follow along at home, do your due diligence and your due diligence. On that playlist will be the upcoming record. Words good. On the playlist will be next week's record, and it's going to be provided by David. David, what have you got for us in tow?
Okay, I've narrowed it down to 2. So, Petey, I'm gonna ask you, East or West?
East.
Cool. This is an artist that is very near and dear to my heart for a very, very long time. In a different universe, we reviewed a Carly Rae Jepsen album, and I too appreciate female artists from Great White North, our Canadian friends. And this particular artist I'm bringing is someone that I've had a great admiration for probably my entire adult life. And
Shania
this is her.
Twain.
Good guess, but no. I don't hate Shania Twain. What I'm talking
like
about is the brand new and first album in about 11 years from the one, the only, Sarah McLachlan, and her brand new album, Better Broken.
Yeah.
That's a pull, but I'm here for it.
Yeah. We're gonna get into Sarah McLachlan. Look forward to talking about that. I'm looking forward because I feel like I've never gotten a chance to really explore her sound, and I should have. But yeah, that'll
Very
be next
happy
week.
that she's got a new album out. Very happy.
But that'll be next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. recordbreakerscast.com, rebelli.net, Rebelli TV on YouTube. Find us everywhere you find podcasts, on YouTube, on Spotify. Yeah, if you're still there, you still do Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever else. You can also just get the feed on our website. Thank you for hanging out with us. Don't forget to love each other. Do all the things like share, subscribe.
Just don't be a jerk.
Until next time, hasta los huevos.
Oodle toot.
Toodles.
See ya.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.